So, what are the benefits for the enterprise? The first one is pretty obvious to understand, right? We have all, and I'll show you a slide later, have struggled with the provisioning. You go to, if you're in the business unit, you got this new great plan, this thing you want to bring to market, and you call the CIO or the director of IT, whoever it is, and you sit down and say, here's, we want this, and we're ready to go to market. The client's ready to buy, and then you do, well, what do you got to do? Well, I need a portal. Just stand up the portal for me. And he said, okay, so he comes back, and then a week later, where's my portal? Where's my portal, right? And so, oh, well, we're having challenges. We got code and blah, blah, blah. So those are what we're kind of been dealing with. But now, with the elasticity and scalability of cloud, the CIO comes in and says, yep, we'll have that for you on Monday, right? Because he has that service catalog that makes it a lot easier for him to go order this kind of things. So speed to market, the infinite capacity available. You can build your cloud so that you can just put VMs all over the place, right? If you have that enough money to invest in that, you can get all the capacity you need. And there are a lot of times when you clearly are going to have cost reduction. We have just having some discussions today on the way up here where clients have said, you know what? I have been doing traditional outsourcing and owning these servers and paying, I don't want to own servers anymore. I don't want any of that infrastructure in my environment. I just want to consume that service, and I don't have to worry about depreciation over a long period of time and then how I'm going to decommission all that stuff. Just give me the service, and then you can lower your expense of maintaining all of that hardware on your book. So these are 4 of the benefits, and there's others depending on what your situation is. So key benefits for the enterprise. I like this model because I think it gives you a view of, first, the introduction of hybrid interoperability, but also introduces the concept of public and private cloud and some of the features and things that you would look at across all of those models. One of the things I'll draw your attention to is the payment method and public cloud. So that's clearly the pay-as-you-go. Right, I'm getting ready to call Blockbuster online right now and say, them movies have been sitting in my house for 3 weeks. I'm not watching them. I don't need that anymore. Turn that stuff off, right? And you know that goes to that metered use feature that we talked about. However, if you decide to build your own private cloud on premise, then you have ownership of the assets themselves. And some people, we're talking with a large auto parts manufacturer in Detroit that want to do just that. They want to build that private cloud themselves. So if you look across these charts, you can see on the left here is the private cloud, the virtual private cloud, and the public cloud. So what's the virtual private cloud? Anybody know what a virtual private cloud is? So we know that the public cloud is the cloud that the public can consume. I already talked about Blockbuster and Netflix as an example. But the private cloud is the one that you own, and only the people in your company, in your department, will consume services for that. All right? So if you have a virtual private cloud, that means that that private cloud is somewhere else, and you're consuming the cloud services from them because you don't really have those assets. So virtual private cloud, as a matter of fact, HP is standing up a global capacity for doing that, and I'll have a drawing that shows you later the data centers around the world that they're standing up this virtual private cloud. So these are some of the things, and one last thing before we leave this slide is the sample workloads. One of the benefits for the private cloud on-premise is that may be where you put your mission critical applications, because we'll look later on where should workloads go, right? Because these applications are providing a lot of services to us. There's collaboration, there's financials. Where do they go? And one of the places to put your mission critical application is in an on-premise private cloud. So this is a model of how that plays, and we call that the hybrid interoperability model. So Now that we've gotten an overview, right? It took a while just to do the overview. Let's talk about trends, and we'll pick up the pace a little bit. How am I doing on time, by the way, to make sure we're on pace? We're good? All right, great. So let's talk about some of the business trends that you're aware of. And we know that business trends are changing constantly, right? And they're evolving. I just had a discussion the other day with somebody about the megabus, for example, right? And we talked about it. Bolt to megabus, you've heard of that? When I grew up, it was just Greyhound. That was the only bus you could take. Now there's megabus that stops on a corner, right? It's a lot cheaper. There's a whole lot of benefits. So that's just one simple example of how businesses are changing the way they deliver. We can go and talk forever how Home Depot has come into neighborhoods and knocked out the local hardware store, right? And there's a whole list of the way business models have evolved. Technology advancements. All of you remember when wireless was first new, right? And you used to like, wow, no wires, and now we all use Bluetooth for just about everything that we do. I remember doing a paper for the Commonwealth Bank of Australia about 15 years ago about trends in technology, and at that time I was talking about 1G bandwidth, fast Ethernet. Wow, that was really fast. And maybe we got a folks that anybody around here remember thick Ethernet? Yeah, so the trends are continuing. I remember I was on a call the other day. Somebody actually had a modem going on. So there's still people still using dial-ups. Wow, exactly. So we know that the technology advancements are going to continue. And then the workforce is changing, right? One of the things, HP bought EDS a few years ago. EDS had a lot of facilities, but HP had already begun that move towards having folks work from home. So that's the trend that's taking place in HP. And my current practice called infrastructure modernization, we have all kinds of architects and Wintel and Unix guys and storage guys. There's 210 of us. And we have a directing principal, 2 and 4 managing principals. And out of 210 of us, all of us work from home. And we support clients all around the world, and we only go to the client site when we're necessary. In EDS, you wouldn't have that. Everybody had to go into an office, and I remember when I worked in Manhattan, the cost of a cubicle on 47th Street and 6th Avenue, the cubicle was $1,900 a month that the business unit was charged to do that. So the workforce is moving away from that. Many of you probably did business-related emails on your phone today. And 10 years ago, you couldn't have done that. So we know that there's a changing workforce in the way that we do work. So that's one of the trends. And because of that, because of what we know, because of hallway conversations about what we know, the demand from the business has always seemed to be outpacing IT, right? IT's got to catch up and deliver what the business needs. So while CIOs are concerned about cloud risk, 70% have security top of mind. 79% are concerned about vendor lock-in, right? We've all been stuck with the Betamax version of a product, right? So another group is concerned about performance and availability, right? So you get a cost savings, but now the thing is down every weekend, and you got to send your guys in there to fix it. So what have you gained overall? So they have those concerns, and that's a CIO's job, is to be concerned about that. And then, of course, integration, and many of them prefer integration of cloud services and on-premise services. And that is a key point that takes us into that discussion later about hybrid delivery, delivering traditional IT services when it's appropriate, as well as delivering new cloud service at the same time. The role of IT is changing. The concerns of the CIO is changing. He's got to balance these needs. He has got to be standing here looking at, okay, I got some traditional stuff that was built on premise. I also have a private cloud that I'm standing up. And I got some other stuff that I need to transform. And at the same time, I want to just consume, like Salesforce.com. That's a service I just want to consume. And so the CIO is becoming more of a broker of services, right? And the most sophisticated one has an online catalog, where you can order those services from. So this is to introduce you that concept of hybrid delivery, as well as talk to you about how HP defines the cloud service we deliver in 4 major buckets. Those buckets are build, transform, consume, and then regardless of what you do for those 3, you still got to manage and secure it, right, across the legacy and the new services. So this slide I always like because it talks about the challenges of the CIO. So again, there's a lot of pressure to move to the cloud. All of you are here because you just heard that one magic word. Oh, there's going to be a discussion about cloud today. So that brings you in because there's a lot of pressure. But the IT department has got to be able to adequately juggle the needs of the business and the technology needs, right? And so typically, as we saw before, there's the speed to market, there's cost, and ease of use. Those are the things that the businesses are always asking IT deliver. But the technology needs, is it scalable? Is it stable? What are the benefits do I really get from it? It must be able to integrate into what I already deliver. They're very happy with that 10-year-old application. It's been doing fine. I don't want to change that. I just want to add this and then make them interoperate smoothly. So the IT department has to juggle these things. I like this slide because I did a presentation on cloud computing in New York at the Queens Chamber of Commerce with Oracle and Amazon Web, and the gentleman from Amazon Web used this slide, and I've been borrowing it and using it because I think it really tells us about the benefits of IT. If you look at this slide, the stair steps is the typical growth in infrastructure, in that we typically see the red underneath the steps as the money that has been spent, because this is the projected. If you look up at a straight line, that's the projected growth that we're expecting for demand. But we can't build, right, because it takes a long time in the traditional way to build that stuff. So you got to build extra capacity, knowing that you'll fill that capacity up over time, right? So you build a lot of extra stuff, and then time goes on. And as the need comes on, okay, I got to build up some more stuff, and the need comes up, and you keep walking up those steps. But you waste a lot of money because you build that stuff and the capacity is not being utilized. So how does cloud benefit that? Well, if you look at the line, we see that as the true demand goes up, cloud can stay above it because it's not linear, right? And what we always want to avoid is this little point right in here. And many of you have been there when the IT infrastructure did not meet the need and the systems crashed. So theoretically, we can always stay above that because we can scale up quickly. And then if that demand goes away, we can scale down and save money. So I've used this slide a few times. I think that tells the story very well. Okay, so that covers cloud overview, business trends. So let's talk about moving some of your homegrown applications or even some of your COTS application. Anybody know what COTS means? All right, commercial off-the-shelf applications, right? So these are the questions, and we really talked about some of these. What do I need to do? How do I make it secure? How will I manage these applications in the cloud? How do I make applications ready for the cloud, right? And then you have to think about how do I integrate applications in the cloud with my other applications. So there's some application movement concerns that you have. And this is that slide that I talked about that sort of gives you a high-level definition of where some of your workloads are more comfortable. Right now, your custom applications and your applications with sensitive data may be best in a traditional IT model because you know how to handle that. You don't have to worry about putting it out there with less security than the regulators perhaps even demand of your organization. If we look at the right, we talk about some of the things that might be easier to move into a public cloud with the website creation and management, email. Those are a couple that you could move into a public. And then if we look at private, we see server capacity on demand, IT management, business apps, right? CRM and ERP. Those may be best suited to stay into a private cloud.